Greetings. So, last time I was talking about conquering some of my darkness, facing some of the things that were extremely difficult for myself, and trying to live up to my own personal truth of life owes me nothing, and I owe life, and I'm responsible for my time on this earth. And I'm being questioned by life, questioned by my God. What are you going to do? Because all of that friction that we are put under, all of that stress, toxic or not, traumatic or not, will produce growth if you choose to rally against it and dissect it, understand it, understand that these things happen to you, and it's not a death sentence. It's not terminal, even if it is terminal. Viktor Frankl's book, he talks about a guy who broke his neck and he's paralyzed from the waist down. And I think one of the statements, one of the quotes from it is, I broke my neck in a diving accident. It didn't break me. He went on to do several, get degrees. He uses a motorized wheelchair, attends class, all the things that he can do with his mind, he accomplishes. And he said, I've been liberated in so many words, because I would have never accomplished these feats had I been able-bodied. I love that. Even in terrible instances of sexual assault, there is an aspect of, yes, this thing happened to me, but now I'm more aware of other individuals. People no longer penetrate my spaces. I'm stronger. I've taken self-defense classes, more self-confident. And I've done these things in response to this toxic stress. So I love that. Again, you cannot change what happened. That is already done, that is already written. But if you're penning in your book, authoring your own book, in the present, you can change so much. So back to Keesler. The ebb and flow of the daily routine there was wonderful to me, because I felt a little bit more confident. And then one day I saw them. We would have a special team of a marching unit. Their uniforms were super. We used Stay Flow on them, and it's almost like their BDU top. A BDU top is a battle dress uniform, which is just your camouflage top, and BDU pants, obviously battle dress pants, and would be almost starched to perfection, where it could stand up by themselves. Hats were crisp, boots were beyond shine. But the average Joe like myself, I'm not doing all of that, because it would be hilarious. We would be marching back, and one of these people would be in your flight, and a flight was the group that you broke out into to go to class with every day. And then it would rain. And when it would rain, all of the water would obviously come cascading down, and then it would hit their tops and their hats and everything else like that, and all of that Stay Flow would turn into this milky white drizzle that would just drench all down them, and it would ruin their uniform. They have to go in and put on another uniform. So if we were marching to lunch, or we were marching wherever, if we were marching to class, they were done. So it was like, oof, not worth it. But I saw them being the Marines. because it was a comm base. It was you were learning combat um, comms communications. Um, they were marching around with rifles, and their movements were so crisp. They were so disciplined, so focused. I would watch them. I'm like, man, that's amazing. Then I watch them play basketball, and they were so overly aggressive. I'm like, they're almost tackling each other. Hey, that's weird. I would walk to the base gym because they didn't have a gymnasium in the student section. And they would run. They would sprint from the barracks to the gym. And I'm walking. Okay. Everything was this alpha male, adrenaline, testosterone fueled thing. And I was like, that's pretty damn cool. Now, granted, they were going to do a job that was terrible because I would run into them again during my first deployment and then again during the war, and their lives were full of suck. And I appreciated what they were doing because I appreciated who they were. PT got impossible because I ascended the rope system from green rope to yellow rope, and then finally I was awarded a red rope. So there was only 3 red ropes in our whole wing, and I was one of them, and I felt fantastic. I had my own flight, and I had I was in control of everything. Most red ropes would kind of fade off into the distance and do some type of morning duty and things like that. Oh no, it was PT time. It was time to go. So for me, I'd stroll out there, and I took pleasure in doing PT later on in the later months. And I remember one day we were doing push-ups, and you just say down. And when you say down, you're already in the up position. So when you say down, that means go down and come back up. So now you're holding it. So it was just down, 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 and I'd do it over and over and over again. Then I'd stop. And I remember it was a female screaming out, "What are you doing? We don't want to be like you." It just made me fuel for more and more torture. So I got a kick out of it. Maybe a little bit of masochism in that, but whatever. I loved it. And I looked at it as part of my duty as an airman to be physically fit. Mentally, I had challenges because I was not, and I have a weakness with math. Comm had a lot of math in it. And you had to learn. We would dissect and pull out all of these electronics, and it was really cool to learn. Until we had to do something with a large disc, and you obviously have tools, and you have to ground yourself, wear special gloves, etc. And you learn safety procedures. And the whole thing was, this one time, you got to learn what arcing was, which is a discharge of electricity. It's basically lightning. I got to see it for the first time. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And I was like, that is scary. It's powerful. And it's a lot of heat, a lot of energy transferring from the guy placed the tool near the thing, not even on it, near it. And it arced up and and I'm like, and we all had to do it. You all have to stand there and do it. Like, this is what you don't do. Roger that. And it's scary. So you learn all of these things, and you appreciate them. We had a flight. We had to go to a parade, and I was in charge of the reserve flight. Reserve flight is a bunch of individuals that come in for the people who pass out. They tell you quickly, do not lock your knees. And it was hot, and we were standing there for well over an hour. About 20 minutes in, people started falling out. The reserve flight was responsible for carrying the person off. Then I assigned another member to go stand in for the person. Started off with 25, I ended with 3. And I'm like, good, dear God. I had to start pulling people off. I'm like, wow. But they just told you, don't lock your knees, because you have these gigantic arteries, and you cut off the blood circulation to them, you pass out immediately. Well, not immediately, you pass out rather quickly. Just learning simple things like that was insane to me. Experiencing stuff like that was insane to me, but I loved it all. I loved the wreck time we had going kayaking on the Mississippi River, which was the dirtiest, in Biloxi, Mississippi, the dirtiest thing I've ever seen. Then we went out to the Gulf of Mexico there in Biloxi, and I remember we ran out there. We're gonna get in the water, and it's like, no, you're not. This is not a beach like Pensacola where I was from. This is something else, because this is where the Mississippi River dumps into the Gulf. I'm like, I'll never forget. We're out there one day as a group. We left the base because we had 3-day weekends. We left the base on a Friday, and we went down there just to relax and have some fun, blow off steam, and go to the mall and stuff like that. They'd have buses. We'd have a great time. Go to the food court, go look at CDs, because that was a thing. And I'll never forget, I'm looking at the water, and I look over and I see a beaver. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, that's like a 4-foot beaver. Like, what is that doing out on and it's just sitting there on its hind legs, up. Like, oh my God, guys. And I'm, my two buddies, I'm like, hey, look, there's a beaver. And they're like, Turner, it's not a beaver. I'm like, it is a beaver, look at it. It's a beaver just standing perfectly still. It wasn't a beaver. It was a girl from the base. She had let her hair down, and her hair was so long, I thought it was fur. And it perfectly went down her body and made it look like this fur silhouette. And I was like, oh, that's a human being. Wrong about that one. Really, really wrong about that one. So we had a bunch of fun, a bunch of laughs. I ended up graduating from there. My mother came, and I was excited because she got to meet the guys I would write her about and talk to her about, and they got to meet her, and that was a lot of fun. It was a positive moment for me and my mom, because the healing process has started from what was going on with my sister. My sister was still very sick, but she was trying so desperately to reach back out to me, and I understood that. So next time I'll tell you about, after graduation, going to my first duty station and how I messed that up. Okay, as always, be the reason somebody smiles today, and enjoy this beautiful day. Take care.